I just finished a session with a client, and I wanted to come on here and just sort of share some insights um, that I was having. So, anyway, this is for people in relationships who may be feeling a sense of frustration and feeling a sense that it might be time to walk away from their partner. But these are things I just want you to reflect on before you make that decision. So, the biggest thing that I would invite for anybody, even if you haven't started a relationship yet, if you're in a phase where you're single, these are all important things to reflect on as well. But what do you need from a teammate? What do you need specifically? What does that look like? Is the teammate balancing the things that either you don't prefer to do, you don't want to handle or have the responsibility of, which is fair. It's better to be honest about it, right? Is a teammate for you somebody who just meets you, like sees you, accepts all that you are? Um, is a teammate someone who is actively flirting and pursuing you romantically, or is a teammate someone that receives your advances? What is the ideal teammate for you? So just thinking about that. What does a teammate look like for you emotionally, psychologically? What are the ways you need to be spoken to or talked to? And I was just, in my session with my client, I was talking to him about how, it's important in a relationship for both people to hold what I called, keeping the state of the union in a neutral or positive state, right? So it's like when either one of you feels that you're in a state where you're going to contribute something, let's say like negative or painful or judgmental or critical, then that is your invitation and your opportunity to do inner work on yourself and to kind of exit yourself from the moment so that you can do what you need to raise your energy, to perhaps find more compassionate thoughts about your partner, to find more empathy, to find more breath. Like, if you're frustrated that your partner didn't do a particular thing, like, you know a small thing, maybe something around the house they forgot to do, if you can take yourself out of that moment, you need to go in the closet, you need to go outside to the garage, wherever, reflect and breathe. Like, has there ever been a time when I didn't do that? Odds are you're going to find that moment. Yeah. And so when you reflect on the moment that you didn't do that very thing, you can ask yourself the question of, what would I have needed in that moment? Would I have needed someone to critique the fact that I didn't do it? Or would I need someone to check in with me and say, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? I noticed this hasn't been done. Are you stressed? Is there something going on? Do you see how that approach is so much more honoring of the human? It's honoring of the human in what is going on inside of you, and what are the variables or the elements or the circumstances that you're not experiencing or that aren't present, which is causing you to have this result or this effect. So one of the things I really teach when I'm working with clients is, whenever you're interacting with someone, try your very, very best to not judge them for the external things that you're seeing, because those are just um, like, icebergs, obviously tip of the icebergs, but they're pinpoint little moments that reflect what's going on a deeper level. And so the only way you can ever get to change in any regard is isolating and identifying what is the core underneath, what is going on inside of a human being. And then anything outside of that, any of those external actions or lack thereof, that's reflecting, as I mentioned previously, that internal state of the union for 50% of the union, right? You each are 50% of the union, but unto yourself, you're 100%. So yeah, so checking in, like, what do you need from your teammate? And when I was mentioning that example of, keeping the relationship in a space of neutrality, which is like peace, it's just chill, it's good, right? Or higher. That doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations. difficult conversations, when done with intention, are very healing and very important and very effective at preserving the state of the union. You know what I'm saying? So, if there's something difficult you have to talk to your partner about, setting the tone is really helpful and really effective. And also, if you both make agreements of, okay, we are committing to neither one of us is getting up and walking away from this conversation, but also we are agreeing and promising to neither one of us is going to speak. If you guys have particular words that trigger you or irritate you, like, you're both going to promise not to say those words. And if those words are stated, then you give each other permission to violate the agreement of staying, and then you each have permission to leave if certain, like, boundary violation words are spoken, if that makes sense, right? Additionally, you can have agreements of, we are going to honor and respect each other first and foremost. So we're going to look for each other's intention for good before being accusatory. So sometimes accusatory language can activate and awaken the adversarial energy in your partner. And so, I was speaking with a client about this, about how, it's really important that we are in integrity and in responsibility for the effect that we have on others. And yes, how people perceive your words obviously has a lot to do with their own form of processing, their point of view that they're existing in that particular moment, their relationship to or relative to the words that you speak, right? All of those pieces have an effect on their perception of your communication. But again, the impact that we have on someone, that really is ours to carry, even if that's a heavy weight. It's a reality. It's a reality. It's a reality to be owned and honored, for both people, right? So, when you impact someone with your words and they start to cry, that is an effect that you are having on them. And yes, also their sadness may come from previously existing moments, so that it's like a well, if that makes sense. It's like, somebody goes through a trauma and then a space was dug into, let's say, their heart, right? And so it's like, then it becomes a wound. They go through another type of trauma, and then another space was dug in that well, and then they go through some other type of trauma, another space is dug. Okay, so then it reaches the water, and that's, of course, the tears. That's the emotion. And so it's like, when something happens that maybe on a trauma scale is like a 2 or a 3, right? But their reaction comes from a space that it feels like a 9, or it feels like an 8, and those emotions come up. You might say, well, that's not my fault, that's not my result. But I think it's important to tend to our partner and recognize the impact that your words did have on them. Because even if the way that they received it is because of residual trauma that's still there, you still contributed something that activated them, if that makes sense. So without your contribution, they wouldn't have been activated. So that's why we need to be responsible with how we affect each other. And I think that's just conscious. I think that's just loving. I think that's just mindful. And I think it's important, and I think it's necessary, and I think it's emotionally healthy to do that. So, in those, what you might need from a teammate is, somebody who can promise to create safety in difficult moments. So safety is, I'm not going to be verbally berated. I'm not going to be verbally abused. And verbally abused is insulting, is name calling, is critiquing, like, excessively, aggressively. It's belittle. It's all of that. Like, that is emotional abuse, right? It's causing harm to somebody's psyche. So it's like, that may be something you need, is that somebody who can provide and promise and actually be good on their word. If they promise something, they follow through on it, that they're not going to be a source of harm, right, on your psyche, on your psychology. So those are all things really, really important to look at. What do you need from a teammate? Do you need somebody who is your cheerleader, who believes in you, who speaks life into you, who values, the vision that you have, who wants to speak energy into your dreams? I know for me, I love and appreciate when I have someone who believes in my dreams, who believes in my aspirations, because it's like, when I have 1 or 2 people who believe in me, I become unstoppable. I become like just a rocket, and it's jet fuel for me. And I can just go and achieve things that, most people are like, how did you make that happen? And it's just that that inspiration of just those few core people in my life who I really, love and appreciate and respect. And when they see me in that capacity and they just believe in my gifts, then it gives me the energy and the motivation to do things that, otherwise I might have doubted the possibility of, or I might have um, not felt the right sense of motivation on completing it. But so it's like, what do you need? What are those particular nutrients that for you, when you have them, it activates you? And there's great ways to discover this. One of the books that I really love and I deepened in myself, it's called The Strengths Finder. And it's a test. When you purchase this book, you also can explore your own strengths. So you're going to have 5 strengths that they will identify for you, and then also they'll tell you who you best are compatible with and who you would best partner with, who is going to be like an adversary to you, somebody who you're not going to get along with. It's great in business to do this for your staff, to have all of the staff be aware of their particular gifts and skill sets. And then also it exposes, how do you best thrive, and what do you need in order to thrive? Like for me, I am the best when I am able to be in leadership positions. I do not do well when I have a boss or when I'm told what to do, because I am very much like a conscious, visionary leader, and I do best when I have a team who is sort of like supporting me in the vision that I have. um, and and I do really well with somebody who's an activator, like somebody who, if I have like a vision or a goal or a dream, and he's like, oh, I know how to make that happen, or oh yeah, I have this connection, or I have this person, or oh, I can make that happen. Like that is like a really great camaraderie for me, because that's like a teammate, that's a partner. And then also I value when I have somebody who's inspiring me, or they're a visionary too, or they're achieving a lot in their world and their life and their career. um, and so that is like a motivating factor for me. And then I inspire them in the realms that I am gifted at, and my skill sets of deepening in their insight of emotional intelligence, deepening in their insight of empathy, deepening in their insights of seeing beyond their blind spots, helping them expand in their internal psychological resolve and their spiritual depth, I guess, right? So it's like we all have different things that we bring into a partnership. So isolating what those are, and then my strengths, just to give you guys like an idea, I'm a maximizer. So it's like I take what is good and I make it even better. So a moment that's neutral, I'm gonna make it like the best, most magical, fun moment, because that's what I love to do. I love to maximize moments. I love to add positive energy into moments. And so that's why it's so important for me to be with a partner who values protecting my peace, if that makes sense. Not keeping a naivety, but it's like you value um, and respect the energy of what I've cultivated, which I've done deep inner work to be in a space of harmony, like genuine harmony. And that's energy that I bring and provide into every interaction that I go in. And so it's like I like that to be a base standard. And I'm definitely down always to have difficult conversations. I'm down to have challenging conversations. I'm down to be pushed to my own edges. I enjoy that. Um, but but it's like having a partner who, you know, doesn't bring negative energy, or who doesn't critique unnecessarily, but rather like wants to be, I guess, be more respectful of honoring the authenticity of who a person is, and they want to see the good in those things. So it's not about a naivety. It's like, just think about how you would feel if somebody is like critiquing every aspect of who you are, just because it doesn't cater to them, if that makes sense, versus somebody who recognizes, oh, everything that you have cultivated is because you're growing yourself to be the most conscious, sovereign version of yourself that you can be. And so, if I want to be a conscious partner to you, I can appreciate and respect that who I'm interacting with has been intentionally cultivated, if that makes sense. And so, that's like my particular need of being with someone who honors my sovereignty, And it's like you might have a similar thing, you might have a different thing. It's just about knowing who you are. So the important thing is to isolate those emotions of what is it that you need to feel. And so I think a lot of guys probably have heard this from women that they need to feel emotionally safe. What that really means is that they value being with a man who has control of his own emotions. Control doesn't mean suppression. Control means awareness and an ability to um, manage, right? So if you feel heat coming over you, you feel anger, you feel rage, it's like to have the ability to say, I'm feeling really angry and really pissed off right now, and I don't want to put that on you. So I'm gonna go play tennis. I'm gonna go play some basketball. I'm gonna go to the shooting range. I'm going to go for a run, for a walk, rock wall climbing, to the gym, punching bag, whatever it is that actually lets you get out that energy, because it's like it might not necessarily be hers to hold, if that makes sense. It might not be her reflection for her behavior. It could be, as we previously discussed, that well. Like there might be other things that cause you to have that well become deeper and deeper and deeper, and it was dug deeper. And then she said something, and it just this rage and this flame and this anger came out. And it's sort of, maybe it's like a dragon, you can equate it to like a dragon, but to be able to control is like you guide it, right? You can guide that dragon, and so then it's not just erupting flames on innocent people, right? But that you're able to, okay, this dragon is really heated, I'm going to take it over here, let it fly, let it get out what it needs to get out, so that when it's around you, you know, it's a dragon that's safe for you to ride, it's a dragon for you that's safe to interact with, right? um, so when it comes to this teammate conversation, it's like we get to look at what do we need, what do we desire, what do we appreciate, what do we value experiencing, what are those particular elements that really just cause us to feel like this is the life you would construct. This is the life you would design. This is the partnership of your dreams that you would want to create. So that's the invitation here. But then also it's like every single thing that you're asking for, it's important that you're embodying that. And you might say, well, how is that possible? You know, if I'm a man and I'm wanting a feminine woman, how can I embody that? Like I want her to be a cheerleader. It's like, well, okay, are you encouraging her dreams? Are you speaking life into her? Are you inspiring her? Are you encouraging her? Are you giving her verbal words of affirmation? And if you aren't, maybe you can just try to what's the word, like up the ante, or just like enhance your ability and your skill set in that. Because I think one of the most attractive things in a partner is somebody that's growing, someone that is evolving, someone who's not just staying at their base standard and it's like, well, I don't do words of affirmation. Well, okay, like I don't do dating you. You know what I mean? Like growth is attractive, growth is sexy, growth is healthy. And health in this current, you know, day and age, when a majority, like a large portion of women are doing this deep inner work and this deep psychological awareness, psychological healing, taking personal accountability for their own stuff, and then being mindful of how they interact with a partner, being intentional with our words, being intentional on being the version of ourselves that is required to be in the relationship that we desire. Because so many people just think about the relationship that you desire, but you don't think about the version of yourself that it's going to take to be and sustain that relationship, and what your dream partner actually desires. And are you being that? Are you being that man? Are you being that woman? And so it's like, you know, a lot of people might say something like, you know, oh, he or she deserves better, so I'm going to walk away. And it's like, that's a cop out. That's an excuse. That's a big excuse. And especially if that person loves you or values you or loves who you are, and they believe in your capacity, they believe in your potential, the more conscientious thing to do, if you value that person, you love that person, you want it to work with that person, you want to make it work, is you saying, there's a great song that is like, it's like, I know that I gotta find a better me for you. And so it's like, that is what you could do, is you could find a better version of yourself for that person. And ultimately I do think that, you know, your soulmate, your divine counterpart, the person you're meant to be with, they literally will activate you and chisel you into the best version of yourself. And it won't just be that they're trying to make you change for them. They're actually supporting you to grow and evolve to be the best version of you for yourself. And so that's the most beautiful thing. And it's like for what you could create in the world, who you could be, the legacy you could build, everything that you'd be able to tap into and activate that you maybe wouldn't have been able to if you weren't partnered with this person, and all the contributed energy that they provide into your life and inspiration and just the resonance that you guys then would create. And so think about that too. It's like, are you in a psychological state where you can support somebody else in becoming their best version of themselves? Like, are you at that space where you can give that? And so it's like, if you know that you're not, it might not be the time for you to explore a committed relationship at the quality and the caliber that you truly want and desire. So it might just be your turn and your time for, inward reflection, for personal work, for hiring a coach to see, okay, like, what are my blind spots, and let them know like previous issues you had in relationships, and they can help you see, oh, this might have been what you contributed to the dynamic, and if you would have shifted how you responded, you might have gotten a better result. Because I think that situations are never face value. It's like there are millions of variables, all unseen, that either were or were not contributed to the moment that cause that effect. So it's like effects in and of themselves are not a basis for defining. I don't want to go out so far and say a basis for defining anything, but it really is. It's like you can take a moment and a result that happened and be aware of, oh, if I would have just said this one different thing, it could have had a different result. Or if I would have showed up a different way for her, it might have went a totally different way. We might have had a totally different experience. If I would have said this, if I would have owned that, if I maybe wouldn't have said that, we could have had a totally different experience. And so just owning that when you show up to life, into your relationships from a place of intentionality, meaning I'm going to create the highest possible result in any moment right now. I'm going to be reaching towards what is the most in integrity thing I could do. What is the most in integrity thing I could say? What is the most supportive, compassionate, loving, conscious thing that I could contribute into my partner's life? And the result that comes from that comes from a place of deep intention. And so when you're operating from a place of deep intention, you're recognizing the power of your impact on others for good. And I think that's one of the most beautiful places you could be operating from. And if you're operating from that place, you're ready for a partnership. And if you're ready to take personal responsibility for the effect and the impact you have on somebody else as well, without getting overwhelmed, without getting overheated, without feeling shame or wrong, or wanting to shut down, wanting to run away, wanting to numb or suppress, if you're able to take accountability for your effect and impact on other people, and you're willing and ready to sit and process with somebody else, like how they feel about what your causation in their life is generating, just for the sake of being a supportive presence to them, like that you can be in like a neutral space within yourself, and then you can just provide your energy of support to somebody else and be present with them and hear what it is that they need in order to feel better. That's when you're being a conscious partner. That's when you're ready to be a conscious partner. And I assure you, it feels incredible. And if you're with, if you're a man and you're with a woman who knows how to be a conscious partner, it's insanely good. It feels so incredible. It feels like almost like Christmas morning every day. Like that's what life becomes. Life becomes Christmas morning every single day. And for a woman, when you're with a man who is conscious and present and supportive to valuing the impact he has on your emotional well-being, it is heaven. It is literal heaven. Like you just feel this sense of ease inside your body, inside your mind. You feel a sense of safety. Like there's no threat, there's no risk. You feel like you could just deepen and to like excavate for these jewels and these gems, and you can just mine for the most beauty possible that you could even imagine. And then the depths of bliss that you guys can go together and create is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And so that's what I want. I want that for everybody to be able to have that, but it takes processes, it takes parameters. My eyes just got like really big. It's just like passionate. It takes parameters, it takes presence, it takes being able to know like where you don't go. If you guys have values of, we don't speak this way to each other, we don't cuss at each other, we don't whatever, like, you might have certain names that like it's okay to say because you know that that calls each other higher, but like for instance, maybe you poke a bear or whatever, but you're not going to cut a bear. You never do that. You know what I mean? Like, so be aware of what are your limits, what are your edges, what is like an okay zone, what is a no zone, what is a yes zone. All of this internal psychological excavation is incredibly important work for the discovery of not only just your needs, but what is healthy for a relationship, what isn't healthy, because majority of people have no idea what they are contributing to a relationship that isn't healthy. And a majority of people are contributing things to a relationship that is unhealthy. And so, in order to even have the slightest chance of creating a healthy relationship, what is a healthy relationship? A relationship that feels fucking good all the time or a majority of the time. In order to have any chance at creating that, you have to be aware of the dynamics that you are contributing that is causing negative energy to fester in the relationship, right? The unhealthy pattern. And so, when you can be intentional enough and with integrity enough to be able to look at those particular pieces, then yes, that is amazing, and that is what you should be aiming for. You should be doing in a partnership is being in integrity um, with with yourself for owning. What are the pieces that I'm contributing to that are causing this problem, and when you do that, you are making yourself an incredibly eligible and desirable partner, because that is who somebody wants to be with. So it has less and less than you'd imagine to do with finances for what's eligible. It has less and less to do with even your external body. And it has more and more to do with the emotional impact that you create on others. And so, especially when somebody's healthy, when they're a healthy, sound mind, that's what's going to be the most important to them is the impact you have on them on an emotional level. So really get in touch with that piece of yourself, and what is the emotional state that you operate from on a day-to-day basis, and is that an environment that you would want someone to come into? You want to share that environment with somebody? Would they enjoy living in that environment? Cohabitating with you in that environment? Or does that environment need some work? Does that environment need some more plants, some more orchids, some more sunshine, some more life, some more, you know, ferns? Like, I'm just giving random examples, but it's like, what do you need to bring into your internal environment so that you are a co-creative partner with somebody to help them grow into the best version of themselves? And are you having the correct eyes to look for a person and partner that's going to help you become the best version of yourself? And be prepared for the tricky, kind of like prickly, spiky feelings that can come with that may cause your body and nervous system to go into the fight or flight mode, when really that's not necessary, because you're operating with a safe person that has your best intention at heart, but they are just calling you higher. They're calling you and inviting you to rise. And if you've never experienced that before, it might be perceived in your body system as a threat to be avoided, right? So just be aware of all those pieces. And then it's really important too, when in the dating process, or even if you are considering like ending your relationship, ask your partner those same questions. What is it that they are needing? What are their core needs? What are the depths of the emotions that they need and want to be feeling that they're not feeling? And then ask yourself honestly, like, can you meet that? Can you provide that? Do you want to meet that? Do you want to provide that? And then also, it's like a great way to just take assessment of like, okay, this person that I love, that I've been with for, X amount of years, feels I'm not providing these things and they're frustrated. So then you have to be willing to look at, what are the variables or elements in your life that have been preventing you from being able to provide that, right? And then you can have a conscious partnership conversation of like, I want to recognize and acknowledge that I haven't been providing you this, and I want to explain that I think it's because this, that, and the other is in my life. But what I'm committing to in the future, if you're choosing to, what I'm committing to is to also create new variables that are going to support me to go in the direction I want to go, so that I can give you the thing that it is that you need, right? So it's like all of those are so important for allowing you to not just like give up a relationship too soon, because I feel like that's one of the worst things It's one of the worst things we could do is walk away from a partnership too soon, before we really allowed it to either have sea legs, or before we really allowed it to have a chance to repair itself or to heal, or for both people to actually look at themselves and see what they contributed to the pattern and what they're willing to do to adjust, to grow, to heal, and evolve. Because when you put consciousness on anything, when you put love on anything, that is a variable that transforms. It's a variable that transforms. It's a variable that heals. It's a variable that gives you wings to adjust things that you didn't even think you could adjust, and it gives you a microscopic lens to see things that you had no idea even existed within you, or that you had the capability to change. But you only have the capability to change something once you have the ability to see it. So when you see it and it's not just a part of you, then you're like, oh, I actually know how to maybe remove that if necessary, or oh, I know how to chisel that this way. Like, um, you know, was it Michelangelo who created the sculpture, the David? And he said that he was chiseling away at the sculpture to reveal the radiance that was already within it. And I truly believe that is what our soulmate is supposed to do. That's what our twin flame is supposed to do. That's what our divine counterpart is supposed to do. In a way, is like help us chisel away at the pieces of ourselves that are in the way of our most authentic self shining through, our most radiant self shining through, our most aligned self shining through. But it's a very different energy than critique. It's a very different energy than critique. And so then it brings me to the next piece I wanted to explore, which is the difference between control and guidance. There's a huge difference between control and guidance. And when you are trying to control your partner, or you're trying to control the moment, what you are demonstrating is, and this is an insight that I came up with, is you're demonstrating a lack of trust in the people in your environment to meet the need for your desired outcome. So I'll say that one more time. When you notice you have controlling behavior of anything in your life, your relationship, your partnership, your job, whatever, your family, your son, your daughter, whatever, it's because you have a lack of trust in the people in your environment to meet the need for your desired outcome. So that could be, your lack of trust might also be contributing to them not having the ability to develop the skill set for themselves. So your lack of trust is hindering them, right? Your control is hindering them from developing their capacity. Or your lack of trust is that you want it to be done a particular way and you're not willing to have it done in a way that doesn't meet your standards. Or it could be that there's like a insecurity if you're not having control over it. Because if you don't have control over it, there are elements of vulnerability that arise, and maybe that is an experience you don't want to feel at all. But when it comes to your romantic relationship, when you're controlling, there's a lack of trust in people in your environment to meet the need for your desired outcome. That's when conscious communication comes in. If you want to have a healthy relationship, conscious communication comes in. And that's when you can shift from guidance. I'm sorry, I told you the key word too soon. Pretend you didn't hear that. That's when you can shift from control to guidance. And so guidance is about having that conscious communication. Guidance is about even you bringing awareness. If you have an awareness that you want to shift into these controlling behaviors, but you're trying to do the inner work to not do that. So you have conscious conversation. You have that open dialogue with your partner of, I notice I could step in and just do this myself, or fix this, or tell you to do that. But I want to start honoring your sovereignty more. I want to start respecting your capacity more. So is this something that you want guidance and support on, or is this something that you want to actually try for yourself? When you ask those questions and you know what it is that the people in your life want to receive, that's when you're shifting into healthy guidance versus control. Because control doesn't care whether the other person wants it or not. It's going to be what it is. So that's a selfish energy, if that makes sense, right? But when you're guiding something, you're still just as much in a leadership position, but it recognizes the partnership of caring for whoever it is that is within your guidance, if that makes sense. Whoever is within your dominion, for lack of a better word. It's like you're recognizing the sovereignty of those people and what their needs are, what their desires are, what their intentions are. And obviously that's going to affect how you guide. So when you're guiding someone, it's like that person has the intention to go in the direction that you maybe perhaps have already been. And so they trust that provision of you seeing where they need to go because you've already been there. So you're guiding someone, but what? You're honoring the intention of what that person wants to experience, what they want to achieve, where they want to go. And also you're trying to encourage their development and their autonomy, and you're trying to encourage their capability within their own body. So again, even when you go to the parenting, it's like the difference between control and guidance is when you're guiding, you're developing their sense of self. You're developing their internal conscience to know right from wrong versus just saying don't do that. But if you focus on helping them develop their internal conscience, you're developing a strong leader. You're developing someone who has the internal resources to have deep, deep comprehensive thought versus someone who just obeys. And if they just obey, they are potentially at a victimhood to obey the wrong person in the future. But if you teach them to have their own discerning faculty, they're going to have the insight and the intellectual prowess to be able to discern, does this person have good intentions? Is that person off kilter in their thought process? Is that person out of integrity in what they're asking me to do? And you have to, within guidance, you have to be willing to accept somebody's no. If even a child says no to you, oftentimes as a parent, there's this like big, oh my gosh, how could they say no? But especially, most especially for a female, when a young female says no to you, even like, you're tickling her or whatever, you're doing something, and she says, no, I don't like that. It's important to immediately stop. And yeah, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. That is how you support someone in developing their own autonomy. And also you're guiding by example. You're guiding and demonstrating that I respect your boundaries. Therefore, she is going to have that understanding and knowing that in her future, men are supposed to honor and respect her boundaries and not take advantage of her and not overstep her boundaries and not harm her, right, in any capacity. So yeah, that's just like something to deepen in on control versus guidance. Guidance is more partnership and checking in with the feedback of how does it feel when I'm guiding you? Like think about a dance partner. You're dancing, you're guiding the movement, right? But if she's like, ow, you're pulling me, you have to adjust. You don't want to continue to pull someone or they won't want to continue to dance with you. So view life as that. Life is a dance. So some people may like the tango where, the man is more domineering. Other people might like a more contemporary freestyle where it's like just intuitive, conscious tantric movement that like you're both creating organically in the moment. Some people may like where, you're both active creators in the dance. Some people may like that full surrender where you're in total leadership. You may like where, you're observing and she's leading a dynamic and you're having to adjust to her playfulness and she's giving you things that keep you on your toes. You know what's coming next. Like, so you never know. Just like get in connection with all the different aspects of yourself and be able to take inventory and assessment of like what's healthy. And healthy is, am I honoring the sovereignty of other individuals and their choices, their ideas, their wants and their desires and their limits? Am I honoring that? And if you're not, there might be some lack of integrity, there might be some unhealthiness that gets to be adjusted, right? All those things are super hugely important. Okay, so a note I had here is empower others to contribute their best and to meet your needs. So this is how you help develop leaders, as you encourage other people to rise in their capacity. Because I think that's the marker of a great leader, is that you inspire other people to provide their best self or their best skill set to the moment, to the dynamic, to the relationship, versus you handling everything. Because when you handle everything, you create codependent, handicapped people. But when you encourage other people to utilize their skill sets, their potential, you bring out other people's greatness, you're being a true leader who creates leaders. And that is the mark of a generous person. Yes. Okay. So connecting back to looking at your core needs, asking yourself, so this is relative to relationships. This is relative to like if your relationship is sort of on the rocks, or you're noticing emotional dynamics that you don't like that are continuing to repeat, right? I think I have touched on this in a previous video, but I think it's worth mentioning again, that if you want to solve and resolve the issues and the challenges and problems that keep happening, ask yourself this question: would I speak this way to someone I want to turn on? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're criticizing your woman, or you're critiquing her, or you're judging her, or you're coming at her from like a combative state, or you're just stating what she's not doing and how you don't like that, would you speak that way to someone you wanted to turn on? Probably not. So it's like invite yourself to get back into that energy of how would I address this situation? How would I address this issue if I wanted to keep her in a turned on state? Can you even imagine that? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Can you even imagine the level of like emotional mastery and intentionality that that takes to keep someone in a heightened state of arousal or turn on while you're dealing with a difficult subject? That might mean you're like massaging them, or you might be creating a safe space. You might have set a pillow out for them. You might have had like sensual, peaceful music on. You might have a dinner set up. You might be like asking her to sit on your lap as you're massaging her shoulders and be like, babe, can we just talk about something? Um, I really set your intention first. Like, I really want to keep this conversation peaceful. I really want you to know that I love you and I value you and I desire you. I crave you. I want you. And I want you to feel so appreciated and so seen. And there's something I really need to talk about that's bothering me. So are you open and available to talk about it? Many things I just did there are really important. Number one, you're sort of like priming the moment with that appreciation, that affirmation, that acknowledgement, so a person doesn't feel like they're being attacked. They know that they're seen, they're desired, they're loved, they're safe. If that is true, hopefully you're saying things that they're true, right? And then secondly, you're saying your vision. You're setting the parameter, right? So you're letting them know, like, I have no intentions of belittling you. I have no intentions of shaming you. I have no intentions of making you feel not desired, not enough, right? Because if you were having those intentions, that's something to be evaluated. Like, why would you need to shame a person? Meaning, like, shame is like you're never going to amount to anything, or making a statement that belittles them to such a small space that they can't get out of it. But also, sometimes people interpret, uh, I want to say, a complaint as a feeling of shame in their body. So they can't even process the complaint because the shame is too heavy and overwhelming, and it's like a hot potato they have to throw away. So they're going to be defensive. They're going to get rageful. They're going to be like, a raging, just like T-Rex that's just like, ah, and just like destroying everything, even your relationship included. So that's why setting the tone can be really healthy and impactful for people who maybe don't always process critique in the best way. And so then you also can be mindful with your words and how you speak it, and just ask yourself continually, like, how would I want to hear this? If I was the one doing this, how would I want to hear it? So how I would want to hear it is if somebody saw my intention for good. Because for me personally, majority, 99% of the time, it's there. Like 99% of the time, I have a good intention for what I'm doing. I'm coming from, an innocent, loving, heart-centered place. Um, and even if it's misguided, or even if it's not the right direction I should have gone, it's like if you look to the core, it's either love, it's either, a desire for closeness, it's a want to be understood, it's a want to be seen, it's a want to advocate for the well-being of others, it's a want for harmony in the world. Like, that's literally my intentions. So anything that I do or say or think is coming from those places. That's just because I understand my own integrity, my own core, my own center, and I move from there. I speak from there. So not everybody is as integrated with all the levels of themselves, but the more you do this work of integrating the different levels of your awareness, your thoughts, your emotions, and I'm always still growing, like I'm always still improving. We always will be. And I still have a lot of work to do, and I like that. I like that fact. But I love sharing the insights that I've cultivated on my journey. So it's like when we deepen in this awareness, then we're better able to understand each other and understand how we can see each other is when we see each other's reason for good. If I see a reason for good and I can identify that and I can speak to that, and maybe I can even isolate and identify what the need is of that intention for good, we can resolve the issue in a much more pleasant way. And it's still just as authentic. It's just utilizing the full capacity of our resources when it comes to emotional intelligence, to respect the sovereignty of each other and to honor the way we want each other to feel, which is ideally keeping an emotional state of peace, or the most peace we could possibly create, and allowing our partner to feel understood for their motivating factors. Whether or not you agree with it, it's just trying to understand your partner's motivating factors is one of the greatest ways you can love them. I will probably sing that for the entirety of my life. But anyway, so yeah, the best way to create healing for emotional issues is to try starting to make every single moment into foreplay, like erotic foreplay, if that makes sense. Like, you know, just think about every single moment, how you could make that sensual, how you could make that flirtatious, how you could make that playful, and even the most difficult conversations too. How could that be like a flirty moment or a sexy moment or a challenging moment or an inviting moment? Take responsibility for that, of like keeping the erotic temperature of your partnership high. And if it's not, because you're continuously coming to a place of critiques, like look at that and how can you bring the erotic level higher. And then also too, especially as a man, like if you notice you tend to shut down whenever she brings you like a desire or request or critique, or if she expresses how something you did hurt her feelings, or she's setting a boundary, and every time you perceive that as, it's a threat, or she's shaming you, or you get really heated, you get really angry, you get really defensive, like that's also a chance for you to look at the fact that you're not creating a sense of safety for her to be able to tell you the state of the union. Like it's not even safe for her to tell you, hey, you just drove over into my lane and it caused me to swerve and I got hurt or something. If she can't even tell you the impact, you're not in a healthy, conscious space internally where you're ready to protect the state of the union and keep it in a space of neutrality or feeling good or, better, right? So that's an important moment for you to take assessment and do internal work on, like, why is that? Why can't I hold that? And in the past, when I have had to hold that, did I think like I was going to lose the connection? Did I think I was going to lose the bond? And so is that why? Because you're wanting to protect the bond, and so you deflect, right? But realize that when you receive it in, you welcome it in, and you take her feedback as information that allows you to grow and evolve, and it's essential information. It's almost like your flight map, right? It's your lay of the land. Her emotional reflection is your lay of the land for the state of the union in your partnership. Oof. Okay, that just came to me right now. That needs to be like my slogan. Hashtag quote Megan Elena Amigo. Let's go. So yeah, I just want to encourage everybody to really honor the feedback process instead of defending. So the feedback process is your partner says something to you, it's triggering, it's upsetting to hear, it might make you feel like ugly because you're not showing up as a perfect partner, right? So it's like the best way to show up as an attractive partner is, ooh, okay, I'm noticing that's really painful to receive, but I'm going to try my best to process this in a conscious way. So I'm hearing you say that when I do this, you feel XYZ, insert the feeling, and you want to experience more of this. And then you can also share your internal process. It's like, I'm processing it like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough for you, you don't value me, you don't appreciate me. I'm processing it like you want to alter and change who I am. And it just makes me feel like I want to run because I want to be seen and accepted for the authenticity of what I am. That's just a random example of, just a imaginary moment of what a couple might be saying or feeling internally inside of themselves. Um, so when you share your internal process like that, you allow your partner to feel you, number one. You allow them insight into your internal world. And when they see your internal world, then you're not arguing about the surface stuff that really doesn't matter. And you're not fighting about the tips of the icebergs and the colors that they are, when really, deep down, you both have like a cave of dragons and bears that are just hungry and need to be fed. You know what I mean? So when you can like isolate and identify and address what those dragons and bears are and what their core needs are, you have a greater chance of success in your partnership, in your relationship. So yeah, also when you reflect back what you hear your partner say, like even if they say, you never do this or you always do this, yeah, most of the time that statement is probably false. It's majority of the time, like, there are studies that prove this. Most majority of psychologists will say when you say things like this to your partner, if you never do this or you always do this, you're going to cause them to get defensive. You're going to cause them to deflect it and reject what you're saying, because their logical brain is going to kick on and be like, that's not true, that's not true, I do it this time and that time and that time. So you're not creating a friend or a connector ally, you're creating an enemy. So when you reflect what you hear your partner say, even if you don't agree with it, even if logically you can counter it with a whole other host of arguments that are more, accurate in your opinion, right? Instead, if you can reflect, so I hear from you, it seems like I always do this. You are reflecting to them what you hear them say. They say, yeah, okay. then a follow-up question could be, can you also acknowledge there are times that I do it? There are times that I don't do that. And it would really support me if I heard you say those times you remembered that I made the effort to do this, that, or the other. You know what I mean? So it's like first acknowledge them, first hear them, and then speak what you need as well. But if you immediately go into deflection, you immediately go into denying, then of course you're creating a divide. You're not building a bridge to harmony and understanding. And it's like the teachings of Jesus: do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself. So what that shows up to me as in a relationship is like demonstrate to them and reflect to others how you like to be treated. So then you can be giving them a roadmap to how they could interact with you. And so it's like you might say something that they logically are like, well, no, that's not true, but actually it's how you feel. It actually it's how you've experienced things. And so wouldn't it feel nice if they were like, I want to recognize that is how it has felt for you, and that is how for you I've shown up and how you've experienced me. Yeah, that's true. That's real. That's valid. So all of those things help to lower people's guards, and it deepens the space for genuine bonds. It's understanding each other, it's hearing each other, it's acknowledging each other, it's affirming each other. So anyway, that's just something I wanted to share on how to heal. And instead of jumping ship too soon, just try some of these practices to see and affirm your partner, to be able, to allow them to feel really understood by you, before you jump ship. And give them a try. Let me know how it goes, and I hope you guys have an amazing day and week. And please feel free to leave your ideas and your thoughts. I love to interact with conscious, intentional, mindful people, and I really appreciate you for being respectful in these comments. It means the world to me because I put a lot of thought and energy into these videos. And of course, I'm sure I'm gonna be flawed and say things that land in a particular way that's unsavory inside of your system, and I apologize for that. Just know, again, my intention is good, my intention is loving, my intention is to create bonds, my intention is to create healing. I am totally open to if people disagree, but again, this is my personal space that I'm contributing here, and so if somebody is going to be communicating disrespectfully, aggressively, rudely, or harassing, that's going to be blocked and it's not going to be tolerated. But conscious, intentional, intelligent communication is always welcome and it's always accepted, and I am down for any type of discussion, because I can take the heat, I can take the fire, and what's the word? I value challenge, but also it gets to be done in a way that is respectful and honoring of the energy that I'm putting into this, and the vulnerability and courage it takes to show up here on this space and to channel and broadcast my authentic thoughts and ideas, in a way that is not directly benefiting me whatsoever. It's a way that is purely contributive to you and the well-being of those who are on the receiving end of these thought processes that I am deepening in and sharing with you. So much love. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you want to work with me, you can just comment below. I'd love to work with you. My email is insightcoachingwithmegan. Insight, like just INSIGHT, insight coaching with Megan at gmail.com. So if you want to book a session, you can absolutely do that. I look forward to connecting with you. I support clients in processing trauma. I support clients in healing relationships. I support clients in creating the life of their dreams. I support clients in healing dynamics that have been really continuous and painful in your life, and helping them give that new breath, new awareness, new insight. So much help you deepen in your spiritual connection, your emotional intelligence, your emotional resolve, your internal relationship with yourself, life. So yeah, if you would like to do any of that, I would love, and be so deeply honored to support you in that walk and that journey. You can book a free complimentary consultation session with me so I can get to know you and see if we'd be a good fit. And then you can apply to work with me one-on-one. I do coaching programs of 3-month packages, or you could do one-off sessions. I also do something called Coach in a Pocket, where it's like something comes up in your life and then you message me and then I give you a voice message back to that. And it's just, you have access to me at, let's say, a quicker frequency versus coaching once a week, which is the normal. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing from you, and have a beautiful, blessed, blissful week. I know there's a lot of really effed up stuff going on in the world, so I just wanted to put a little bit of love out there, a little bit of healing, and just do my part to raise the frequency, so that we can have more love in the world. And when there's more love in the world, there's more energy for positive solutions that honor the well-being of others. So that's the most important thing, is the well-being of others, and everyone is included in that. So much love, you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you.